We'll start our session. So the next topic was with respect to classless addressing. We have just seen it. The next part is DHCP. What do you mean by DHCP and what is NAT? What is it doing over here? Why it is required? We'll just check one by one. So DHCP is nothing but whatever the IP address that you are using right now at your end also. Dynamically, the IP addresses will be changing if you are using or if you are logging in different intervals of time. So that means if you are entering into the network, that is into the internet in different time intervals, you'll be getting a different type of addresses. How it will be done based on this particular dynamic host configuration protocol. What is this host means? You are the one who will be who wanted to communicate to the internet. So that is what host is all about. That means you are ready to communicate. So that's what it says. For communicating, you require an address that should be dynamically taken care, not with respect to your classless or classful addressing. In the classless and classful addressing, it is called as static addresses. Static addresses means it will be remaining constant with respect to the machine. That machine is assigned one particular address means that will be assigned for the same particular machine. Next time if the same person will be visiting to the internet means, then you that particular person will be using the same type of addressing. So if it is 192.168.3.121, so it will be the same address. So I'll just try to give you a small example based on that. See here. So if you are inside the college and if you are using if you wanted to communicate through the internet to the other systems, and if you are using college network at that particular point of time, 192.168 will be common. That too, if you are using the department by the name called as ISC, then 3 will be fixed. With respect to that, you can use a number of addresses, that is 0 to 255, any particular value you can just have it. Suppose if you are using 3.1, which may have not used anywhere, but still, if you're using this 3.1 means, this will be used by one particular person itself. If you're assigning this value, this becomes my static IP. That means it will be common whenever that particular machine gets on to that particular machine. If you have configured this IP, then it will be constant throughout your particular conversation. If anything, if you don't get the network communication properly, and if anything wrong happens, and if you just try to reconnect it also, you'll be using the same IP. This is what called a static IP. It will never be changing. Now what we are talking about is, at the beginning it was having 192.168.3.2. Now after some time, if I just revisit it, it may be 193.168.4.3. To the extent this one we cannot change it, because network ID will be used for the particular network purpose itself. So that's why I'll not change that now 192. Rest of it I'll just see here. So this is dynamic IP addresses. We don't know the host address. For the host address, whatever the address that has been assigned by the network internet, so we'll take it, and depending using that particular address only, we'll just move forward. For that, dynamic host configuration protocol is very important. See here, can assign permanent IP address to the client. That's what I said. Can provide a temporary address. Temporary address is this one, 3.22, and yeah, next part is there, right? This is the temporary address. Dynamically allot an IP address to a client. That is also possible. So all these are nothing but it will be the functions of your dynamic host configuration protocol. How this particular thing operates, we'll just check it out in the next slide. See, this is the operation of your dynamic host control protocol. At the beginning, what is the aim of this particular DHCP? In order to get the client side or the host side IP address, that is what you need to just get it. For that, you need to give one particular packet you need to send it. What is that packet? DHCP discover. What is this DHCP discover? DHCP is nothing but dynamic host configuration protocol. So which network is available, to which server I'm communicating, whether that server is able to listen to my voice or not, to the host voice or not. That is what it need to just discover. For that, I'll be using one transaction ID, and the lease time will be just using it. What is this lease time? Within the lease time, if you are not getting the output, if you are not getting the acknowledgement, if you're not getting the offer, then there is some problem with respect to that particular network or the server that which I wanted to communicate. That's what your host will be thinking. Based on that, it decides to move to the separate server, or it will try after that, after leaving some particular time. So first, it need to send the discover packet. So in the discover packet, you will be having the transaction ID, which particular transaction it is moving. Lease time will be not addressed at the beginning. The next particular thing is client address, no client address, because that is the one that we need to just have it. Your address will not be having any particular importance. Server address also will not keep it or will not try to send that to which server it is having, because we are broadcasting it. So that's why we don't know the server address also. Source port number is given and destination port number is given. And the source address will be named it as 0.0.0 and the destination address is 255.255. That is the maximum one. We'll just keep it and we'll just try to send it. From this 00 to 255, whichever the addresses are there, for all those particular servers, I'll just send the discover packet. Once it is discovered in the internet, so for that, whatever the transaction ID that you have, it will, the lease time will be fixed and the client address, it will be left as blank, but the address of the server will be attached, and your address, whatever the address that you want to have it, that address will be just written it with respect to your offer that it is providing. Along with that, the server address also it will be given here. From the server only the message is going, so that's why source address will be the same thing. Destination address is 255 to 255. With respect to this, it will, your particular client acknowledges or gets that particular offer. Once it gets the offer, it will be filling the client address with respect to the address that it has been sent, from which address it has been sent, and your address will be kept blank, and then the server address will be taken care. With respect to that, source address and the destination address will be taken care, and it will be sent to the request will be sent to the server. For that, acknowledgement will be written back. So this is how the transaction or the operation will be transmitted. For our better understanding with respect to this, what we'll do is we'll just go with this particular finite state machine operation of the DHCP client. First of all, I'm ready to join. That is the initialization stage. That is what I'll be just having. Once I'm in the initialization stage, I can send the packet of discover packets. So that discover packet will be just given. If it selects, if it is in the selecting mode itself, it will be just offering, and it will be just rolling back with respect to the selection of the DHCP client server itself. Once it is done, the request has been offered for that particular, whatever the offer that has been given. Once the request is given, with respect to that, if the acknowledgement comes, the address will be bound and it will be just given back to the client, and you can have the n number of transactions. If it wants to release it, once again, the lease is cancelled, that is the entire time is duration is over, then it will be just coming back to the initialization state, right? So if the requesting in that no acknowledgement is given, means that that particular point of time it will be starting with the initial state itself. If the acknowledgement is given from this particular requesting phase, then it will be bounded. The address will be bounded. That is, what is the address that has been bounded? It is nothing but 181. The address which will be bounded here is 181.14.16.182 is the address that has been bound at the client. So with respect to this address, you can have a transaction. That is what it will be made. It will be doing with respect to your DHCP. For the current session, you can use it. If the lease time is over, then you need to go with one more particular type of address. One more address will be sent from the server. Based on that, you need to just look into that address and you need to just go with it. So that is what you call as bounding. So if this particular DHCP request, if it is 50%, if it is expired, you need to renew it and get the acknowledgement back. If it is, say for example, 75% after renewing also, if the lease time is expired with respect to 75% months, it is allowed to rebind it once again. That means reconstruct the same particular principle right from the beginning till that particular end. Get the acknowledgement, bound it once again, keep it with you. Sometimes what happens, within a particular 3600 seconds, if it has provided, within that time, you may not be able to finish off your particular task. At that particular point of time, if the 50% of the lease time is expired, that is out of 3,600, 1,800 seconds has been expired now. So with respect to that, once again, you need to just renew it with respect to that particular scenario. Once again, you can go with getting the 3,600 seconds, continue. Suppose after renewing also, if it reaches to 75% expiration, at that particular point of time, you need to rebind it. Rebind means whatever the address that you have given it, you need to readdress to that particular address that has been provided. That means you have to change the entire particular address itself. If the operation happens properly, then it's okay. Otherwise, if it is expired with not acknowledgement at that particular point of time, it will need to start from the initialization part. So this is how it need to work with respect to your DHCP. DHCP is nothing but dynamically you are assigning the IP address for the client. How it is done? First, you will be sending the discover packet. In the discover packet, everything will be 0. No lease time, nothing, no source address, no your address, nothing. Nothing will be sent to the. Only thing is, it will give you the idea that I can communicate with respect to this particular, using this port number, I need to want to communicate with respect to the server. That's it. From that particular server, with respect to the discover packet that has been received, to that, it will be just giving you some offer. This offer, what it will be doing, it will be just addressing, or it will be giving one particular address, that is the source address that can be addressed to it. So depending on that server address as well as the source address, it will be attached and it will be given it to the client. With respect to that, one request will be sent to the server. If the acknowledgement is given back, then it will be bounded. That address will be bounded. Otherwise, it need to go on checking it. If it is going to expire within 50% of the lease time is over, means if the 50% of the lease time is expired, means at that particular point of time, you need to renew it, renew that particular address. If it is expired to 75% means, then you need to rebind it. Rebind in the sense, the same procedure, you need to redo it with respect to some different addresses. Or else, if no acknowledgement is received in either of the cases, you need to send it from the, you need to start it from the initialization state. So this is what it will be happening with respect to your DHCP. Next one is network address translation. What is this network address translation? See, what it will be doing, all these things, I'll just not worry about it. What is your network address translation? That is what we'll be just explaining. So what it is, you'll be having a one private network. That is, this is what your private network is all about. 172.18.3.1 to 3.20, you are having some machines. Each one of it is organized with respect to one of the particular centralized one device is there. So you may tell it as a proxy server here, or else any server you can just have it. So this is with respect to your one particular private organization is running. So this need to communicate with the outside world, where outside world will be addressed with respect to your internet, through the internet. For this, what we'll be doing is, in between your particular private addresses and to the internet, we'll be providing one particular base station, or the router will be saying it. What this router will be doing, from the private addresses, whatever is that, if it is coming from the private address, private organization with respect to one organization, what I'll do is I'll maintain a table here. I'll maintain a table. With respect to that particular table, what I'll do is addresses, or address coming from the private network. Okay, so this is one particular thing that we will be just assuming, or we'll be just having it in our table. Similarly, we will be having address which will be known publicly Okay, I'll just so it should be erased. Okay. What I'll do is I'll use private network and public network. That would be good. Private network address, public network address. Okay, so these two are the two type of addresses will be maintained in the network address translation table. So private network will be nothing but from your organization, any particular value, whatever you are having it. 192.18.3.1 will be the value. For this, it will be a public network. This public network address will be addressed with respect to 200.24 dot 5.8. Instead of 1, they have given it as 30. No problem. 30 is nothing but the server that you are maintaining. So what it will be doing is any request from 172.18.3.1 should pass from this server. This server, it will be having the IP address as 192.172.18.3.30. From this, it need to translate with respect to the transact with respect to the outside network. So which is a public network. It is nothing but your 20.2, 24.5.8. So I'll just give you a simple example just to understand this. You are knowing about something about the operation of the telephone networks, right? So each area will be having one particular exchange box. With respect to that particular box, all the connection, whichever the house that has been taken the connection, all will be. Yeah. Whoever has taken the connection, all will be connected to the same particular exchange box. In that exchange box, everything will be captured and it will be sent to the main telephone exchange center where it has been situated with. That the switching operation operates with. So we are talking about the private network is your home. From your home, you will be just communicated with respect to the exchange box. That exchange box is nothing but your public address that you are knowing it. So from that particular area, if it is coming, means it is easy for us to understand. So this area is having some problem. From this particular area, this machine has been connected. So using that particular um switching network will be just trying to resolve the problems. So that's how it will be working in the similar fashion here also. With respect to your private as well as the global addresses, we'll be having a table. That table will be available in the router. That is called as NAT addressing table router that will be addressed with. NAT is nothing but network address translation. Network address translation from the private network to public network, so that nobody will be knowing from whom that particular request has been coming from. Whether it has been coming from the city called as Shumoga, in the Shumoga, a particular area called as um, Navale, or some other particular area it has been coming from. We will be not knowing that. Whether that particular person resides in Navale or somewhere in a remote area of the Navale, we will be not knowing anything about it. So we'll just come to know from the Navale that particular exchange or from that particular exchange box that is situated in the Navale, we are getting the data. So we are getting the data to be transferred to the other network. Based on that, we'll just do what. So this is nothing but your network address translation is all. See here, what it will be doing, address translation. Why we require the address translation? Just to hide your IP address to the entire to the global uh, area or the public area, you can use this particular address translation technique. So how to do that? So with respect to your source is 172.18.3.1, it will be taken care with respect to your server. From this 172.18.3.1, it will be sending the packet. Now your address translation, it will be recording one table. With respect to that table, it will be addressing to the 200.24.5.8. That means 172.18.3.1, whatever the address that you are having it. So from that particular address, whatever it comes, it will be flowing in the public or the global area with respect to the address taking that 200.24.5.8. Even if you send some particular value from 3.2, 3.20, it will take the same particular address. From that address, it will be giving you the reply back. From the reply, it will be sending the sources now this particular address, whatever 200.24.5.8 is that. From that, it will be transmitting it to the actual request that you are actual requested address from the host which has been requested for. That is 172.18.3.1. So it will be sent in the back. How the particular thing goes, you will be having the private network. In this, source address and the destination address will be given. So from the source address and destination address, once it is ready to transmit the data, what I'll do is I'll just use a translation table. In this translation table, as I said, one private, another one is universal or the global addresses will be captured. So in the private 172.18.3.1, that is the address that we are having it. Universal address for it is the destination address that you are mapping it. It is nothing but your 25.8.10. So with respect to your 25.8.10, we'll be just addressing it and we'll just send it to the destination party. So once it reaches to this particular area, it assumes that it is going with 200.24.5.8 is a source address and destination address is remaining same. It is 25.8.2.10. So from this, it will be just transmitting the data. Once the transmission of the data happens, once it comes back, it will be just checking for this universal data. If the universal address is one and the same with respect to the destination that is coming from, so it will just take care about that particular addresses. Using the corresponding address, we'll just attach it and we'll just send it to the private network. This is how it will be address translation will be going to happen. So for each one of it, will be just giving you one particular universal address. Using this universal address only, will transmit the entire particular addresses. From that, once again, we'll check for the universal address. If the universal address is one and the same, yes, the reply is coming from the right party and it will be just transmitted to the right particular member. So that's how it will be done with respect to your translation. Why address translation is required? See, we have seen DHCP, that is dynamically we are addressing or we are giving the IP addresses for the client. That is more than enough, right? Why translation is required? From the private network, if you want to communicate with respect to the public network, at that time translation is must. If you are going with private network with respect to the private network, only those two parties are needed to have the communication with it. No problem. You can just have that particular transaction. There is no problem at all. Once you come with respect to the public network area, that is with respect to your internet, anybody can use any particular thing. So chances of error is more with respect to your when you enter to the public network. So just to avoid it, you will be hiding your entire particular address itself, and you are saying that you are saying somebody else you are, and you are just transmitting it to the other part. That is the one that you can just have it. The best example that I can give you here is your firewalls. That is from the organization, whatever it need to go with respect to that particular area. Once it reaches to the main gate, it need to be addressed properly, then it need to be left to the other party. So that's how it will be just done. So you'll be not coming to know from who you are and all those things once you go out to the outside. So very important to hide your information. For that reason, we'll use the address translation technique that can be betterly handled by your NAT, network address translation technique. It will be done with respect to any of the router that you are having it at your connection between your particular organization to the global world that you are connecting to. Understood? That's all with respect to this class. If you are having any doubt, you can ask. Otherwise, yeah, we have finished your fourth module. See, your fourth module constitutes of your two different layers. One is data link layer. Very important thing to know in the data link layer, how the framing format will be done. Normally, your data link layer will be divided into two parts. One is with respect to your data link layer control. Another one is called as medium access control. So, or else you can say it. It is also called as multiple access control. Also, you can just go with it. No problem. So, for data link control, you need to go with uh, DLL. With respect to your access control, with respect to that, you need to go with MAC. So MAC always, it will be also giving you one more particular thing. In your data link layer, you need to go with physical addresses. For converting your logical address to physical address, you require ARP help. That's what we studied today. Understood? So in order to have the multiple access to it, you need to know CSMA, CSMA CD, that is collision detection, it will be analyzing. Before collision happens, that is in your wireless network, will not come to know what is going to happen. For that, collision avoidance need to be taken care. So all these concepts is nothing but how you can utilize the entire channel in a one particular way. For that, channelization is also used, as well as random access protocol is also used, as well as controlled access protocol is also used. So many protocols are there. That's very, very important to me. And one more thing is point-to-point protocol is that. So for doing the task with respect to your data link layer, that is very, very important to know. That is one more concept. And the next part, the last part of it is with respect to the addressing. So that comes under your network layer. A small introduction about the network layer has been given. So you'll come to study in detail in the next semester. In the 5th semester, you'll come to know what this particular IP addresses is that, and what is the packet format of IP address, 4 version, 6 version, as well as what is the difference, how to translate. If I have an IP address with respect to 4 type of addressing, if I want to communicate with respect to the other machine which will be having IPv6 addressing, all those things you'll come to know in depth. The complete network layer will be addressed in your 5th semester. So only a part of it has been given over here. That's it. So here in your network layer, we have just analyzed, or we have just taken care with respect to classful addressing and classless addressing. And from that, we have just moved one step ahead. That is the address translation technique. For that NAT, we are using it. Another one is dynamically allocating or assigning a IP address for the logical address for the host machine. That is DHCP. That will be done. So this is what we have discussed in the entire module 4. So hope that whatever we discussed, it has been understood to you. For if you have any doubt, you can ask, or else anytime also you can ask your doubts related to all these particular topics. Yeah. Tomorrow we'll just start 5th module. Okay. Any doubt? See, it's a stop and wait protocol that I'm using it right now. Without your acknowledgement, I cannot move further. This is your flow control. No doubt. Okay. One acknowledgement has been received from your end. No problem. Thank you very much for your patience listening. We'll continue the rest of the class tomorrow.